And we're back with another episode of the Fan the Flames football podcast. Got the whole squad in here, unlike last week. Someone had to travel to China, or I can't remember where. That was the joke last week. But with all things being said, we're happy Kyle is back. James, Jeremiah, myself, your host, Ben Reynolds. This is an exciting week. I've never been much more excited than a week after a loss. We're kind of headed into a very good trajectory as a program, and we're getting noticed. So I'm very excited about that. But we're going to talk a little bit about that. Since Kyle wasn't able to make it to our Twitter Spaces, we get to hear his opinion, and we'll kind of wrap up and move on from there, and then we'll move into the Akron game. So, Kyle, what's your thoughts of the Wake Forest game? Let's start off with you.
Oh man, I don't think I've ever been this happy about a loss. Any sport, any time, any team. I mean, our guys just showed so much heart in that game. I mean, they couldn't get anything going on offense the whole first half, but the defense stuck it out and held one of the best offenses in the ACC to 10 points in the first half. And then really, we held them the whole game until the very end when they just started getting gassed. That's going to happen when you're playing Power 5 opponents. But the offense did what they needed to do throughout. I think we saw a lot of the Salter's downside as a young quarterback. Some important turnovers at key moments that you take a couple of those away and we might have won this game. But that being said, I can't really see anything that is a glaring problem here. I mean, this is probably the best start to finish game that the team has played thus far this season. You still want to see them get it going a little bit more on offense in the first half, but still, I thought it was a great game. I was really excited to see Caleb Snead getting a lot of action. I think he's going to mature out throughout the year and really take on even more. I think by the end of the year, he'll be the clear wide receiver 2 behind DeMario. And I was really happy to see Day get going really, really effectively, especially in the second half. I think he's going to be a guy that brings a lot of dynamism to that backfield, and then getting TJ back this week has a lot of potential to be really, really strong asset that the team has struggled without having, Day getting going, Shedro getting going. The run game hasn't quite been there. So all around, I think, that was a great outing, great outing.
Yeah, I agree. Also, small editors know, I don't know if you said 20 or 10, but it was 20, not 10 at halftime for Wake Forest.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, you're good. I just wanted to make sure there. I double-checked. I was like, wait, we held them to 10? Because, either way, holding them to 20 was, it was needed. Otherwise, you're not going to have a chance to really make a comeback if it's 30, for example. I agree with a lot of your takeaways, starting off with, how much happier can you be with a loss? I don't know.
I think Darrell Johnson is making a pretty strong case for himself, MVP.
Oh, yeah. That man is
defense off of both sides of the ball. He might be the best guy on the field.
Jeremiah, James, what else do you guys have to add about this past week?
I know I said a lot during the Twitter Spaces this past week. I'm continuously just saying how proud I am of this team. Like, I've been saying it all week on Twitter, all throughout the week on Twitter. Just hyping up our guys on Twitter and just talking about it. I've had coworkers and clients today come throughout this past week come up to me and be like, "Yo, you guys look great. Like, can't wait to see you guys again." Like, it's been a great past few days. Just glorifying even just the loss, just because of how well this team played and all the promise that showed in this team. So I'm just happy to see the trajectory of where we're going from here. And as we were talking about with Caden, he's made a few bigger mistakes in the first half. If he hits one or two of those open receivers in stride that he missed by a little bit, in the first half, we probably would have won the game. But that happens with a young quarterback, and I'll stand behind him all the way through because he's obviously progressing, doing what he needs to do, and I think he grew a lot in that game. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what he does this week and going forward.
Yeah, on that subject, I just want to chime in here. What do you guys think about that series that they brought in?
Yeah, it
JB
was a 3
for?
and out, and then there was the pick.
Was it 2 series?
Yeah, no.
Well, it was so quick, I might have lost track.
Yeah, I was like, I kind of understand the thought there, just because Caden wasn't playing well at that point in the first half. But I also I don't like changing QBs over and over again. It hurts the momentum, and obviously, thankfully, it didn't hurt Caden from performing well in the second half, but it really could have put a hitch in the offense moving forward for the rest of the game. But I see why they tried it, because the offense wasn't doing much to that point. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was my question. Was this, is that more just looking for a spark, or was it, trying to light a fire under Caden? I don't know. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I will say this about it. We all but confirmed that JB's not going to be the guy. And that's nothing against the man at all. I said this on the Twitter space. It all but confirmed it. And by confirmed, I mean, God forbid something happens. There's a chance that he would play over Nate, Of course, you're not really hoping for any type of injuries, but I could see that happening. So I'm not saying that his season is over, even as a backup. But at the same time, it's like, I don't think that's going to happen again.
Yeah, I think if Caden got hurt, I think we'd see JB come in kind of like he did in the North Texas game last year, as the guy who knows the offense best and can kind of hopefully hobble it along to hang on to the lead. Obviously, we didn't have the lead in the North Texas game at that point, but that's kind of how I could imagine JB getting the role. But you got to think that if Caden's out and misses any kind of significant time for whatever reason, Nate Hampton's going to get a shot. Maybe it's a week or two of taking reps with the ones, but he's going to get a shot.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, they were talking about before the game and on the network, ACC network, and I know, man, again, another week of not having LFSN, and it doesn't really matter to me with the LFSN because I'm not watching it from home. I'm watching it at the stadium, so I don't get to really hear those calls or anything like that. But I think LFSN has a better network than the ACC network sometimes. Well, the way that they were calling this past game, I'm sorry to say it, but not every receiver's DeMario, for example. I mean, that's just a first thing, and but they did say, Nate had a ton of reps before the game, so I was shocked that they put in JB, not Nate. But here's the thing, I don't know if I would have wanted to put in Nate, because you never know. He might have shocked us all, and then we're all like, okay, so what do we do with Caden versus Nate now? So I think that's why he put JB in.
I think at that point in the game, too, things were starting to work on the ground. Yeah. So it made sense to me to go to the guy who's probably got a little bit more rough and tumble.
Going back to the ACC network, man, those announcers from the start of that game, they did not respect our D-line. They didn't do their research. They didn't realize how deep we were. And they just, all games, this O-line's supposed to be so good. And yes, I get they had started 182 games, as a unit, combined. But come on. Give some respect to our best positional group. So that was confusing to me, where they didn't know that.
I think the boys...
Yeah. I don't think anybody's going to be taking up for granted from here on in.
To be honest.
Yeah. I don't know.
Truly.
That's all I got on Wake Forest. What a game. I mean, just what a game. I think back to, sitting in the stands as a student in 2015, You know, trying to win nail biters against Monmouth, and now you tell me not 7 years later, we're taking it to the wire against an ACC team ranked number 19 in the country. Just what a game, what a team.
Hey, Monmouth had a heck of a quarterback though in those
Monmouth
areas,
was a
man.
solid FCS team. I don't know if they are anymore, but they had a few good years. I give them that.
I don't think so anymore. Yeah, I think they might have moved to the Patriot League, and the Patriot League is one of the worst leagues. And no offense to Bucknell and all of them, but I'm pretty sure they don't offer scholarships in the Patriot League, or maybe
not allowed.
Yeah, I think it is Patriot League. But yeah, and I think Monmouth is in that. But moving forward, you know, it is just weird to look back and be like, I've never been. You know, here's the thing. I will be straightforward when you guys, and you're going to be like, oh, you're fibbing, Ben. When it came to the Southern Miss game, dude, my heart wasn't going up and down like everybody else. I was just pretty chill. I was like, you know, it is what it is. I didn't really have, because my expectations this year were like, hey, this is kind of a year that we're moving on from Malik. I don't know what to expect. I just want to see growth throughout each game. And we've seen that. And then when you have a chance to be a ranked team on the road, that's when I was like, oh my gosh. I called my dad. I was like, Dad, are you – because he's a Liberty fan. He's a Penn State fan as well. But he's gotten into Liberty. He always, whenever we talk, he's like, so what do you think about this week or whatever, you know? And I called him and I'm like, Mom, Dad, what are you guys doing? And they both love football. And they're like, oh, we're off. And I'm like, you guys need to get home, throw it on ACC Network now, like as soon as you get home, because there's a very good chance. And that was when we went up 23-20 after that day run. I was like, this could happen, and you guys are going to want to witness this. So, yeah, and, you know, I've never been – I will say I felt a lot more excited and ecstatic about that than the Virginia Tech. I know there's that thing, you know, rivalry, all that good stuff in state, but – you know, it just was different. Jeremiah, I can tell that you're trying to say something.
Sorry, I was just wanting to add another like concept of that game being so great is that it was also their homecoming. So on their homecoming night, we almost went out there as an upset.
Yeah, that'd been great. Not to relitigate what all of Liberty Twitter's been talking about nonstop for the last 4 days, but what did y'all think of the 2-point conversion call there in the fourth quarter? Both the call to go for it and the play call. I'm just curious.
Yeah. All right, I'll start. Or actually, it looks like we all want to start. I'll just say this one last time. I just want to repeat it for the podcast's sake, because not everybody's going to listen to the Twitter space. And then Jeremiah, James, I don't know, flip a coin. Who wants to go next? Here's the thing. If we get that, guess what? We stop them, we win. If we take just the extra point, guess what? We have to still stop them in order to, you know, go to overtime. And that's why are we playing to overtime? Well, because there's a very good chance that they still go down and score or get 3 points. A touchdown or 3 points, and we're just like, well, you know, I'd rather lose with a 3-pointer after being up by 1 and lose by 2 than you know, go to overtime. I would hate that.
I remember overtime in that Southern Miss game. I don't know if my heart can take it.
Yep.
So
Jeremiah,
initially, I didn't like it, but then again, I'm personally more of a conservative play caller myself. If I were to be a play caller, I would always personally keep the field, keep the PAT, and go into overtime. However, I do see the reasoning behind it, and I understand why Freeze did it. I actually like it. Thinking back on it now, I actually like the call to go for it. The play itself, though, wasn't a huge fan of, but that's just me.
Yeah, no, I'm on the same thought line. Like, I love the call to go for it. Like, we said this on Sunday. It's like you play to win the game, not to not lose. And that's the way Coach Freeze like calls the game. He calls to win the game, not to not lose. And analytically, I even see where he's coming from analytically with the play call. But I just didn't like it because we tried to get outside a few times and it just hadn't worked. Their defense was just as fast as our offense. I think a better play call would have been similar to the play earlier with the boot, but throw them a different look than what we thrown them earlier in the game with the DeMario 2-point conversion. Just have a different route, have more receivers, something different, but not the showy trying to get outside.
Yeah, no, I pretty much agree with all you guys. I think going for it was the right call. I mean, when you're the underdog, you come in, you got less talent on your roster, and as good as we think this team is, I don't think any of us would argue that. You get the chance to go up at the end of the game, you take it. I think that's pretty elementary. The play call, I could take or leave. I don't know what they run in practice for these kinds of drills. I know we had already seen a kind of a surprise rollout pass for a 2-point conversion, and going back and looking, I was going back and clipping some highlights for the Twitter feed today, and goal line offense has not been good for Liberty other than passing. So I don't necessarily fault them for trying to switch it up, go to the reverse, see if you can get them to bite on the fake. And I think it was, I think they originally wrote that up to be a pass to Salter, and they just covered him up. So I don't dislike the call. I think it probably works. It probably works 4 times out of 5. So take what you can get, though.
Yeah, like I said on the Twitter space, you're right. They already had their 2-point play caller in the game, and here's the thing: that's probably might be their most comfortable play call for especially Caden, because you got to realize that especially at halftime, Coach Freeze came in to, I guess, supposedly spoke to Caden. This is what the ACC network announcers were saying, and said, "Hey, let's get a package for you. What works? What's going to work best for you? What are you comfortable with?" So there might have not been as much of a playbook and much of a 2-point playbook even that Caden could have thrown. And here's the thing, and I was thinking about this quite a bit just Saturday night, and it was, hey, everybody's like, why didn't you just put it in Caden's hand, or even in the running back? That's what they're expecting. Now, obviously, they caught the play, but at the same time, I think the tough thing about that play is it's become almost like a go-to 2-point play. Like, started off, I mean, it was before Philadelphia made it big, and the Philly special. They did it. That was what popularized that. But it was a play call beforehand in high school and such.
Yeah.
And then Philly special popularized it. Then I've seen the Bills use it. I've seen even Penn State and some other big programs utilize it. It's become a pretty obvious play now. So I get where that. And here's the thing, people are like, there's another thing that people brought up where like Caleb Coleman was coming across. Listen, CJ Yarborough isn't a quarterback. He's going to go off his first instincts. He's a heck of an athlete. Maybe in the future you do say, hey, keep your eyes up. You never know. But he was also trying to score. It was desperation time at that point. And I just think he got a little bit of panic. And I mean, I think I might have said on the Twitter space, the camera showed CJ as he's walking off and he's sitting on the bench. And I'm like, oh, I felt so terrible. I'm like, man, so yeah, you want to put it maybe in your quarterback's hands, but maybe the playbook isn't and you want to kind of throw him off. I don't know. So,
yeah, I think, one of the virtues of that particular play call is it doesn't lock you into much. It takes a while for it to play out. You get a lot of looks, you get a lot of options. You can pass it, you can run it. You don't have a lot of passing options. Like, you're not going to ask CJ Yarborough to throw a crossbody throw to the back corner of the left side of the end zone. But, if they cover up Caden, you can try and take it in. I think you probably should have cut it back towards the middle, but I mean, you can't second guess a guy. You can't second guess a guy going on instinct in the fourth quarter of, the biggest game of the season so far.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Do you guys have anything else to add before we move on to the big time game this Saturday, second home game of the year?
I'll be pulling for the
I
Deeks to
totally
knock off
agree.
Clemson. That'll make that almost win look even sweeter.
Yeah, it is.
100%.
Yeah, that's at home for them too. So I'll be keeping an eye on that score. I don't know what time they play, but I think it might be a 3:30 or 4 o'clock kickoff. Yeah, if you guys don't have anything else to add, Akron, here we come. I think all four of us are going to be there
Yes, sir.
this Saturday, huh?
I will
Let's
be.
go. Hopefully, I'll actually be able to see all you guys. I'm going to try to make that happen. There might be other reasons why I won't. I'll tell you guys later about that. Yeah, I mean, I'll still be at the game. Yeah. So, anyways,
Decide to
moving
start
on.
an Akron podcast.
Yeah, yep. I'm actually going undercover, and I'm actually going to go sit up in the stands with the Akron fans. Actually,
Yeah.
so
They
Fan.
have a fan.
yeah, fan, yeah. So, yeah. LeBron James is his name. So, anyways, moving on. It's an interesting matchup. I'm gonna leave it at that. When it comes to, no one's gonna hype up this matchup to be the game of the year. You're not seeing it on the season tickets, but it's still, an important game. It's the start of a stretch that's going to be relatively easy, and I put that in quotes because no game is easy in college football. But to the casual and the average fan, it's probably like, wow, Liberty should win all these games. Well, we should have beat ULM last year too, So I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves just yet. Let's get this done this weekend, and let's move on to Norfolk. And they got some good things going up there in Akron. Cam Wiley is a former Liberty recruit in the sense of he's recruited very heavily this past transfer portal from Minnesota. I really, really wanted him, and then when he didn't end up coming to Liberty, I was like, well, who are we going to get? And then we got Day. I'm very happy about Day. So, and then DJ Irons, I mean, he's a 6'6", 240 quarterback. He's a big boy. He's got a great arm. And here's the thing. St. Francis played him very tough, FCS team, the first game of the year. But the past two games, they had to play against Michigan State and Tennessee. Those are not easy games. And they got a new coach named Joe Moorhead, who I know tons about. I've known him since 2015 when he came into Penn State. He coached at Fordham, built them up to an FCS contender, actually, and then left to go to Penn State to do offensive coordinator. Then he went to Mississippi State and then Oregon. And now, since Mario Cristobal left Oregon to go to Miami, he no longer he got another opportunity, obviously, to coach for Akron. So what are you guys' first thoughts on this? Jeremiah, you look excited.
Things on Twitter about Akron. So
you're good, man.
Man. I don't know where to start because part of me doesn't want to give in to the route poison, as Coach Trace would say. And obviously I have a lot of PTSD from the ULM game from last season, like you mentioned. However, knowing the team that we have this year and looking at Akron this year and, seeing how they struggled against St. Francis, and yes, they got blown out by two top-ranked teams, sure. But my initial thought is we're at home, and if we don't win by 3 scores at home, I'm going to be a little upset. A win's a win, of course, but I want a 3-score win at least.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a get right game for the offense. They've struggled in the first half. We saw this last year. Beginning of the year to the end, really not until the bowl game did we have an offense in the first half that could go out, score points, and give us a lead to start to start the game. We won most of our wins last year. I want to say come from behind. So I think Akron's going to be the weakest defense we've faced so far, and I think we've faced some really good defenses. So I think this is an opportunity for the offense to find some rhythm, get some swagger going, and really kind of figure out what they're about. And I think it's also a great opportunity for the defense to show out. I mean, they've had tough jobs against every team we've played this year. I mean, I think if this were closer to a normal year, these would have been three of the toughest teams we played. Three of the best offenses we played, three of the best defenses we played. Instead, they're kind of they're up there, but they're not the toughest. We've still got Arkansas, BYU. Even Tech, they'll come and play us hard, I'm sure. But, this is a game. We got a 4-game stretch here that, rat poison, all that. We don't play for the team. We don't coach the team. We can engage in a little bit of the rat poison. Hopefully it doesn't get back to them. But we should win these 4 games. We should beat Akron. We should beat Old Dominion. We should beat Gardner Webb. We should be going into BYU 6-1. And if we don't, that'll be cause for concern. A lot like the ULM loss last year, kind of sounded the alarm for a lot of us. I think that last half of the season was pretty rough times to be a Flame fan. Again, in the grand historical scale, of course, still a great time to be a Flame. But the team should be able to go in at home, take care of business. I want to see Nate Hampton in the third quarter. I want to see some of these guys getting rest, towards the end of the game. So yeah, I think we should be able to take care of business here.
Along the same lines, I really want the offense to show up. I think we know what we have on our defense. They even until late against Wake Forest, they were playing really, really well. But that's 4 quarters of grueling football against a really good team, and they wore down. They're gonna get tired. It's still early enough in the season.
4 quarters of fury, would you say?
Well,
yes,
and even so, 41 total yards rushing across 4 quarters of football. Sam Hartman's gonna be an NFL quarterback. I'm not gonna hold it against them. They couldn't quite keep him in check.
Even the thing is,
that is
they
crazy.
didn't quite keep him in check, but they kept him in check for 3 quarters. The defense is good. We know that. But I want to see them continue to show that. Because if they can do that, this Saturday, we could blow Akron out. If our offense shows up, and that's what I want to see. I want to see this offense with Caden Salter at quarterback. I want to see TJ Green get more involved. CJ Daniels might be back. He's iffy this week, just like TJ was last week. Over the next 4 weeks, our offense could get incrementally better each week with TJ coming back this week and maybe CJ also this week, but probably for sure next week. We're gonna get some of our players that have played good minutes the past few seasons come back, and with that, our Salter's been in there for 2 starts now. This is his 3rd, and then this will be his 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th start that he can settle in and get going. So I think this Saturday is the first step with that and getting comfortable and getting this offense going.
Yeah. Here's some good stats for old Akron. 63 for 94 is DJ Irons, 67%. He's played 2 ranked teams. Guess how many interceptions he has?
0.
That's right, Jeremiah, 0. That's incredible. That's incredible for a player like him. 2 touchdowns. So, it is what it is, When looking at it from face value, you can only say so much for stats. Still got to play the ball game. But I think that's something to be aware of. He can run. He makes me kind of nervous. I'm not going to lie. I think they're going to keep it closer than expected in the early part of the game. Hence, that might be a little bit of a foreshadowing for my prediction. However, we should knock the braces off these fools, as one would say. And if we don't, that is a cause for concern. And like you said, we should be, 6-1 going into the BYU. But again, it's a week by week thing. And Nate Hampton, man, if he can get into the third or fourth quarter, I'm just going to be like, kick back. I'm just going to be like, awesome. Let's see how he does against FBS team. Because last year he played against UMass, but he only got like 2 series. He threw a laser to Brody Brum, I believe, on one of the throws. And then outside of that, it was really him and Caden splitting the spotlight at the end of the game. And if Caden can go off and then be like, all right, Nate, you don't have to, split reps with me for the rest of the game. You can just take it from here. I'm going to be like, let's go. Because I know this sounds weird, but I'm going to compare it to something that happened last night where the Bills were beating the brakes off of Titans. And I was like, I'm still nervous about Malik going in, because – and then Jeremiah gave me a nice little check. Well, I mean – What else could happen? Give him some reps. So, obviously this is going to be from the other side of the winning team rather than the losing team. But still, getting his reps when he can is going to be important because I really like what we're coming in with the next couple of years. I'm not sure what we'll get in the 24 class, but as long as Hank Brown and Reese Mooney stay committed to this team and sign in December, I still think Hampton's going to be the future, but my goodness, this squad is going to be something else. So giving him time while we can celebrate for the next 4 games, that's a win-win situation, and that's what I really want to see is let's do what they need to do and what they're expected. Yeah, we're the 26.5 favorite now.
Yeah.
Is that what it is now? I think
29.5.
Yeah.
29.5?
29.5 now.
It's moved that much. Oh,
It's getting irresponsible.
yeah. I should have put it on 2022, I guess. I don't know. But yeah. So if and I don't bet on games, by the way. Disclaimer. But
Also, if you live in Virginia, you can't bet on Liberty.
yeah, true. But with all that being said, it's something to look forward to, of course, for the next few weeks. But it starts this week, and we got to win each game. And here's the thing: don't let ODU become your ULM. And I'm going to say that again next week. Don't let ODU become your ULM this year. Because they're going to be the team. They have the most talent out of these 4 teams, and they're the team that wants it the most. And it's a road game.
They're also going to want that our state mentality as well.
You can't even beat Virginia, and the Virginia's worst team in the last decade. Get out of here, ODU.
Yeah. I think so far this team has showed that they are chippy, they are gutty. They're going to go out there and they're going to grind. They're not going to give up. But what I want to see from them this week is the ability to go in, get the job done when they're supposed to. Those other things, those are good qualities. You got to have that if you're going to win games you're not supposed to win. But you also got to go win games you're supposed to win the way you're supposed to win them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, I agree. James, Jeremiah, what else do you have to add?
Yeah, I don't really have much. Just
Nothing?
want to echo all of this. Like, this is I am so excited for this team, but it starts this Saturday. Like, they've got to go out there and do what we know they can do. Like, we've seen it. We saw it against Wake Forest. They can go out and be one of the best teams on the field in college football every weekend. Like, they can go be that level. So let's do that each week, and it starts this weekend with Akron.
Couple of things I do want to see other than some good lights out football. I want to see him take care of the ball better on offense. We need to get those turnovers right. but I think the picks. There's no excuse for. I think the fumble, the tough draw. I think probably did everything he could. That was just a great play by the DB. But still, you gotta sense when that pressure's coming and know whether you can or you can't get it out. But I want to see tighten up on the interceptions, tighten up on the turnovers all around. And specifically, I think Caden's got to stop underthrowing balls on the run. Otherwise, if that becomes that much of a pattern, guys are just going to realize, teams are just going to realize you just got to sniff him out of the pocket, set a guy to spy underneath, and go get those balls. That's going to be a problem if we don't get it fixed. I want to see ground game established from the first quarter, not take to the second half to start getting positive rushing yards. And I think we can do that. I think this is probably the first game where our offensive line just clearly outclasses their defensive line. And so we should be able to establish the ground game, and I would like to see that happen. And then I want to see even more turnovers, even more explosive plays from the defense. My bold prediction: Quentin Reese leads all Akron pass catchers on Saturday.
I love that. I love that. That's my guy.
Yeah, I hope so too. I saw your tweet earlier. I just wanted to add some things about their team. Some players to look out. We talked about DJ Irons. You're always going to talk about the quarterback, Cam Wiley. It's another one that we talked about. Shockey Jack Leese is a redshirt senior coming from Pitt. He's their leading receiver. And then you got Victor Jones. He's a defensive end. He originally played at Wyoming, played multiple games for them, transferred to Akron. Right now has a sack and multiple tackles for loss. And then Bubba Arslanian. I think that's how you say Arslanian. His first name's Bubba Arslanian. He is their leading overall tackler. He's a linebacker. All three of those guys, I think, are 6-year seniors. So they have some experience, albeit from transfers. Shockey coming from Pitt and Victor coming from Wyoming. But Bubba Arslanian is a leader of this team. So I personally, again, I think there's going to be some hanging around in the first half. I think it's going to be closer than expected. By expected, I don't mean that it's going to be a blowout right away. I still think offensively, Caden's going to have to work through some things. Yes, this is going to be one of the it's probably the least talented defense that he's seen so far. Actually, I'll confirm that. Yeah, it is. It just doesn't match up to even Southern Miss in the way that they've played a lot of teams this year. Which shout out to them. They just beat the brakes off of Northwestern State, and I think they're going to gain a little bit of momentum into their next game. So, and I'm cheering for Southern Miss because guess what? You want to cheer for the teams that you beat. UAB beating Georgia Southern this past week, and Wake Forest hopefully pulling out a win against Clemson. You want to cheer for your the teams that you play regardless, but higher opponent record. I don't see UMass winning more than one game this year, but still kind of be like, well, I hope maybe that they at least pull something out because, it looks just better for us. But, with all that being said, this game is a team that it's funny. Hugh Freeze said this: every team is a trap game. He said that today. I think it was either for his Monday press conference or the game after. I think it was the Monday press conference. Every team is a trap game, and Joe Moorhead is a incredibly good play caller. He's up there with Hugh Freeze. I will put my name out there and say he is. He may be as good of a head coach, but play caller. He's transformed teams. So with all that being said, predictions. I'm going to go first. I am going with a spread covering 44-10. but at halftime it's going to be 21-10. So that's my prediction. That's why I meant by closer than expected. 11
Shut
points
out
at
half.
halftime. Yeah, and then 44-10. Who's up next? Who wants to put their hot
I
takes
think.
out there?
Oh, okay.
Even though this is
I'll
a
go.
really hot take.
Okay. I was thinking 49-10 actually. 49 popped in my head earlier, and then 10 popped in my head too. Like, I think our offense is going to go off, and I think our defense is obviously going to go off. I would probably say they probably get a touchdown late in the game. Myself, maybe like mid to late third quarter. Defense is kind of not slacked off, but defense is kind of held off a little bit. Maybe have some backups in there, something like that.
Yeah, I'm thinking along the same lines as Jerry. I'm thinking 49-14. I suspect they'll score at pretty early in the first quarter, as you say, give us that little bit of scare to start. Oh, they scored really early. Then we'll shut them down. And then some point in the fourth quarter, we'll have our third string in, and they'll get a touchdown, like a fluke touchdown late.
Well, I guess that just leaves me. I think we put this thing away wire to wire. I don't think it's ever all that close. My call is 42-13.
All right. Well, we're all in the 40s.
And two touchdowns for Caleb Snead.
Oh,
Yeah.
Let's go, dude.
I got one for you.
Let's go.
You mentioned Quentin
I hope
Reese.
so.
Let's say a pick 6 for Quentin Reese.
I was gonna say 2 touchdowns for TJ Green in his first
There we go.
I'd like to hear it. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I do think after all the turnovers we've seen, defensive points are scored.
I agree.
It's not a
I
safety.
agree.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and oh man, I got so excited. I was like, well, at least 2 points. Yeah. And with all that being said, thank you to all who is listening. I'm going to add one more thing into this. I think that we're going to finally get to the quarterback multiple times outside of, this past week we had a few sacks. I mean, but I think it's going to be multiple. You're talking about 5-6 times because I think you're going to see a lot of drop back passing from this team. DJ Irons is they're going to try to sling it around with him to try to keep up with the Flames. So, again, thank you for listening. Can't wait to see it. Again, the kickoff is at 6 p.m. Eastern time. And if you can't make it, it's on ESPN Plus. Go Flames, and God bless.
See you Saturday.
See you
Go
guys later.
Flames.